This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Coming up a little later on in the program, we'll see how the markets wound up this week after a back and forth trade. But first, we're going to hear from RCIS Vice President Tim Leier. Farmers are going to be looking at their options for crop insurance for the 26 growing season, and RCIS is modernizing how they are filing claims to help farmers make it more streamlined in this digital age and also allowing them to get where they're needed as quickly as possible. We hear now from Tim Leier. Talking with Tim Leier of RCIS, Vice President there. Tim, thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, so RCIS, maybe just remind our listeners, viewers, what it is that you guys are doing and how you help farmers throughout the year.
Yep, so RCIS, Rural Community Insurance Services, we are a AIP, so we provide the crop insurance for our policyholders. We work very closely with the agents out there and really servicing the business and making sure that from the claim standpoint that we get our policyholders paid and try to make them whole when disaster strikes.
All right, and so today, from what I understand, we're talking a little bit about how you guys are even making that easier, more streamlined, a little bit faster for them, because we know that the last thing they need when things go wrong is to have to wait for weeks and weeks on end to get the ball rolling on recovery.
You're absolutely right with that. And so one thing that we really try to do is bring in as much technology into the process as what we can. We invest in drones to help get a better view of what the fields look like. We utilize satellites. We utilize texting services. We realize that a lot of people are more friendly to text than they are to actually get a hold of on the phone now. So anything we can do to make that process a little bit easier for the farmers, be as transparent throughout the process as possible.
So some folks may hear drones or think about that and say, well, wait a minute, how is that going to differ from boots on the ground when you have a person that can sit there and say, hey, this is what I'm looking at?
Absolutely. So for drones, I mean, imagine going into a cornfield that's 8 feet tall. I'm not 8 feet tall, so I can't really see what the damage looks like, especially when you're in a cornfield. It seems like you can walk forever, but you're really only 20, 30, 40 feet in there. You have no idea what the middle of the field is. So using drones, using satellites, we can get an aerial picture of what the field looks like. We can see where those damage areas are and really get our adjusters in the right spot to assess it and make sure that we're accounting everything that the policyholder has coming to them.
So obviously you have people with experience still looking at that footage and looking at where those problem areas are so they know where to go if they are coming in their boots on the ground.
Absolutely. Here at RCIS, we have about 72 drones at our disposal. So we have those throughout the entire United States. We partner with a satellite company so we can go back in time, honestly, to see what the field looked like before the storm, what it looks like after the storm. So really anything we can do to help be transparent throughout that claims process.
And then again, it's all coming down to then making the experience painless for the customer as well.
Absolutely. You know, so I alluded to before, we have a texting service
Right.
that we partner with. So as soon as they report that claim to their agent, they get it turned in, we assign an adjuster to it. They get a text saying who that adjuster is, what that adjuster's phone number is. If there's anything that they need to talk to them about, we're as clear as possible on those. We keep that really, I guess how I would say it is, we try to make sure that throughout that entire process, the policyholder knows exactly where their claim is at. They know how long it's going to take to get paid. They know really where. Can I start over?
You can very well. Go ahead.
I was stumbling a little.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Where we were at in the claims process with using the texting, we want to make sure that the policyholder has all the information that they need at their fingertips, where if something new happens, they can contact that adjuster, report it, and we are lockstep and key with them throughout the entire claims process.
So then how does that translate, that streamlining translate into getting the claims paid and getting that done in a timely manner?
Absolutely. So what that does is it helps make sure that if we need information from the policyholder, it's that much more efficient to reach out to them. They don't have to wait. There's no question on, am I waiting on the adjuster or is the adjuster waiting on the farmer. We are very much in lockstep with that to make sure that we are not missing a beat and they can get that claim taken care of as soon as possible.
So if folks want to learn about the policies and how it works for getting service from RCIS, learn about some of the stuff you guys are doing to make it a more painless. I keep wanting to say painless, but it sometimes can be. It can be a pain to deal with, especially when you're stressed about the situation. To be able to get through that in a more streamlined, easy situation. What's the best way for me to learn about that?
Honestly, I would have them talk to their agents. RCIS, we have a lot of agents out there throughout Iowa, throughout really the entire United States. Talk to their agent about it. I mean, RCIS, we're a very large company. We're out there promoting ourselves, and we want to make sure that everyone understands we are here to serve the policyholder. We're here to serve the farmers.
And I guess one last question I would want to ask. I mean, we talk about everything that we go into growing a crop, whether that is the crop protection, the seeds, everything else. But one of those inputs is the insurance. And looking at that, maybe this is a time I want to look at a different company or look at a different situation. What's kind of the message you have for those farmers to think about it?
You know what? Crop insurance, it's exactly what it's a risk management tool. It's there to make sure that when disaster strikes, you have somebody there that's going to make sure that they can put you whole, they can get you through to the next year.
Well, Tim, I thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us and give us that explanation, those updates here from RCIS. Appreciate that.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
That again was RCIS Vice President Tim Leier here on Ag Matters PM, and it's time to run down the closing markets. And for that, we're being joined right now by Jason Meyer of agmarket.net. Jason, looking at those grains today, starting there, how did we fare in this Friday?
Well, the weather outside is very frightful and cold here today, but the grains had some nice movement today. We saw some green on the board, and I would say it started this morning. We had an awesome export sales number on corn, basically a 5-year high at almost 160 million bushels of corn. So that's very, very impressive. And bean export sales today were really good too, about almost 90 million bushels. So the demand with the lower prices is definitely staying here, and that's very positive for the grains.
Now, of course, we know that there's been a little bit of rockiness back and forth since the USDA report, but it seems like beans have really regained the ground they lost last week. Has corn really retraced it, or do they still have a little ways to go?
Corn's got a little ways to go here, but it feels like we've found some firm footing on corn here, at least for the near term. And one could argue maybe we're seeing some weather in South America. We're still forecast for record production, but maybe that production is getting lowered a little bit just in the fact that there's some weather issues in southern Brazil and southern Argentina, whereas it's maybe a little too dry for them right now.
Well, if there's going to be a record production in South America, I think we're all hoping for a 45 rather than a 78 for those of you know the difference in that. But moving over to the livestock side of things, I know the cattle on feed report's coming out after the close. How did cattle and hogs position ahead of the weekend?
Cattle, what a volatile day, and fats and feeders. They started the day significantly lower here, just as maybe some position squaring, some profit taking ahead of the report. But then midday, some cash trade came out in the north. It was like 235 live, so that's a pretty strong number. So that was able to bring the cattle markets back strong. We'll see what the cattle on feed report says here this afternoon. And then the hogs, the nearby hogs were a little bit softer. We made new contract highs in the April hogs yesterday, but we didn't have any follow through today. And on a chart wise, maybe an inside day. So that's going to be really important to watch early next week to see if the bulls can regain momentum going for the week.
All right, Jason. Well, if folks want to start having some of those conversations and look at maybe some of their options for marketing their 26 crop, what's the best way for them to get the conversation started and find some of the information you guys are looking at?
The best way to get that conversation started is to go to our website, agmarket.net, and click on one of our profiles, and there you will find our contact information, and we'd love to hear from you and help you out.
All right, Jason Meyer has been our guest here on the closing markets on Ag Matters PM. Thanks so much for the insight, Jason. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Dustin, and everybody stay warm out there.
And that was the market analysis from agmarket.net. Let's go ahead and take a look at the closing numbers on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network market screen. At the close, March corn was up 6.5 at 4.30 and a half. March beans up 3 3/4 at 10.67 3/4. Soybean meal up $3.70 at 2.99.90. Soy oil 21 cents higher at 53.99. Chicago wheat up 14 cents at 5.29 and a half. Kansas winter wheat up 15 cents at 5.40 3/4. Kansas spring wheat up 8 1/4 at 5.69 and a half. Minneapolis spring wheat up 1 1/4. That was at 5.75 even. Oats up 6 cents at 2.97 1/4. On the Merck, February live cattle up $2.52 at 234.90. Feeders up 90 cents at 360.17. Lean hogs down 12 cents at 88.35. Pork cutouts unchanged at 97.42. And Class 3 milk up 34 cents at 15.34. And that's been the closing market recap, and that brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at our 3, 2, 1. That brings us to the end of the closing markets and brings us to the end of this week's shows. 3, 2, 1. That brings us to the end of the closing markets and the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Mark Magnuson and Riley Smith, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.